My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Best Quality Vacuum, the Duckfeed show about the extended Vince Gilliverse. That includes Millennium, The Lone Gunman, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, El Camino, and not those first two.
No. Yeah, and we're talking about Greenlight this week. No sense hiding this. We are recording this early. We're banking these up during the strike, but not releasing them. So, like, if Bryan Cranston kills Vince Gilligan in some passion, possibly over a woman, and we have not remarked on it, understand that we're doing a little bit of time shifting.
Yeah, if anybody kills anybody, we're doing time shifting. If you think it's weird that we don't bring up, like, I don't know, Christopher Lloyd's up there.
Yeah.
Like if you think it's weird that we don't bring that stuff up, that's why.
Yes.
And that's actually always true. We're usually about a week ahead, but we're a little bit further ahead on the show because of the strike, which there's been movement on, but not conclusive yet.
No.
And then, So let's get into it.
Let's do. This episode was written by Sam Catlin and directed by Scott Wynant, and it originally aired on April the 11th of 2010. And we spiraling.
Yep. This is, you thought that Walt could not become more divorced. And if you divorce him, he will become more divorced than you have ever seen in your life.
He has managed to produce divorce at a purity heretofore unseen.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I get it divorced at 93%, and I'm proud of that figure. It took a long time. That is a hard one figure, but this is divorce like I've never actually seen before. Gus should choose him. He's better at this than I am. So this is what happens to Walt after he finds out that Skylar fucks Ted.
Yes.
And continues to. This is another kind of place setting episode.
Yeah.
A little bit. We're getting the band back together. Here. It's mostly about him being an absolute shit, and then Hank and Jesse also being shits. This is a rare episode where everyone in our cast, which is a show made up of villains.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting, but this is almost everybody at their least likable.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tough ask in some ways. Like everybody fucking is reprehensible. We're
in the emotional violence power hour right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Walt takes up the lion's share of it, but nobody comes out of this looking good.
I mean, we open up with Jesse doing just a monstrous act.
Yeah. And then Hank does a similar, that poor woman.
Yeah.
Hank does a similar monstrous act later. It all fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But the main thing is all of this emotional violence is giving Gus an inroad to drive a wedge to get Walt to start cooking again.
Right. Gus is manipulating in the background here, and Hank has picked up the thread on the blue meth investigation. He is getting a lead, basically trying to keep himself busy to justify not going back to El Paso, as we're going to find out.
I think he genuinely wants the blue meth.
Well, true.
It's not an excuse. Like,
Porque no los dos.
Yeah. I think he would have been fine going back if it wasn't for this. I think this is still a crusade.
Oh, you think so? Oh man, yeah. I think that he. I do not think that he would have gone back. He would have found an excuse.
He would have had to. He was at the airport, man. He had no excuse.
Yeah,
like I don't think he wanted to do it.
Okay.
But I think that this is serendipity. But I also think he is a true believer in the blue meth thing, apart from just wanting to be away from El Paso.
Yeah. Not much in the way of production details or trivia that I could find. How was the podcast for this one?
Also, not very much in the way of details. The main thing is Betsy Brandt's on it, and she's delightful. She's very funny. They make a lot of jokes about the IFT thing and people effing other people. And she's like, when's M gonna F somebody? And it's just very fun. Like, there's no insight at all. I was just like, man, I want to be friends with this person.
Yeah.
And they all are having a great time. It does the Venture Brothers trick of like not giving me the production value I want, but as opposed to the absolute slog of listening to people praise each other.
Right.
It's friends making jokes.
Yes.
So it's pretty good, but it's not insightful.
Yeah. Betsy Brandt is a hero.
What a treasure. Like, she's so goddamn charming. Just very funny on the podcast. Very, very funny.
Yeah. So let's immediately stop liking Jesse for a while.
Yeah. This is what
cold
Jesse said. He's the bad guy, and this is him trying it out for a while.
Yeah. So he's out in the desert and he is filling up the RV at this gas station, but he doesn't have any cash. Or he tells the young woman at the counter does not have any cash.
Yeah, I believe he doesn't have cash.
Yeah,
I would believe it. He offers her this baggie of meth in exchange, and doing a hard sell on it, like a drug dealer.
Yeah.
This sentence will remain in my head forever as something that sounds awful to me. He's like, everything's super interesting, but then he says, you get really cold and sharp, like action daggers, and I can imagine what that feels like.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine wanting to feel that way.
No.
That sounds awful to me. But he's selling it, and she doesn't want to. And then he power plays her. He big times her. A cop comes out behind her. He keeps the baggie out, and he just stares in the eyes like, "This is the way to make me go away. We can both get arrested."
Yep.
Here, or I can leave. That's the thing. You have to take this.
Yeah, just staring at her, smiling.
Giving
her this baggie of meth, which I have to imagine that baggie would cost more than $80.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No. The baggie would not. That would not rate $80 on the street. That's a very small amount of that meth.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what like how much is drugs.
Yeah.
Like it's not. But at this point, I think he's just trying to, he
just wants to be a bastard.
Testing the waters.
Him telling her like, oh no, the addiction thing is just a myth.
Yeah, it's the media. It's very funny. And in his experience, he has not become addicted to meth. He became addicted to heroin. So it's but it's also, I don't think he's being genuine there at all.
No, because he's seen it. He knows. So Saul's in the office. I love this scene. Like he's got a guy in a neck brace, and he's asking him like, "Hey, does it hurt?" And you think he's expressing human decency for somebody who has been in an accident. Like, "Hey, how you feeling after the accident?" No, it's because he's fitting him for fake neck braces and wants to know if it fits.
Yeah, it's very good. How does it feel? Well, it's I can't move my head. Well, you guys got to do that. It hurts when I move my head. Well, that's good. We can use that.
You've been in an accident.
Yeah. Real good. Yeah. Mike walks in, so he has to usher his client out. And he says, spread the word about the Wayfarer action suit, class action suit, any sleepless nights, anything. And Mike plays surveillance audio silently there. And this is the immediate aftermath of the last episode.
Yeah, it's them arguing about, Skylar's infidelity. And Saul asks, like, okay, so is this a good thing or a bad thing, right?
I love Mike's just like, wait.
Mike, hold it, points at the tape recorder after Skylar leaves. And then we have Walt just talking to himself.
I love it. It's really good.
I'll suit myself to his face.
Yep. Very bad thing. And then we get a very funny scene. This is, I mentioned this before. This is used, like the re-edits that turn Breaking Bad into a sitcom use this, and if you add a laugh track to this, it just becomes a sitcom.
It doesn't become scary violence.
It's not scary at all. Like, Walt is so fucking impotent in this episode.
So ineffectual. The thing that he's promising, it's the King of the Hill guy caught and threw a grenade at me. That was a practice grenade, but it was still a very hostile gesture.
Yeah. It is a gesture. The Walt's ineffectual attempts to be a man. In this episode, like this and his slap fight and his move on the principal, like this is Walt at his absolute most impotent. Not intimate, absolutely like no potent.
If he thinks he's a snake, but he's a fucking worm. It's so good.
Yep.
But he's there to see Medicki. He just wants to have a calm heart to heart, man to man kind of thing. And like, no, Ted's on a conference call.
He's like, oh wait, and he sits down and he sees Ted. This is also a great little bit of comic acting from Christopher Cousins, looking out the window blinds like, oh, this ain't good. So Walt sees him, gets up to confront him through the glass and starts yelling, come out here, be a man. And Ted's like, this is not a good time. So he starts dragging a potted plant over, or a potted tree, and one of the things about those things is they're heavy.
They're very
they're
big,
made not to be knocked over. They're made of concrete.
Yeah.
So
So Walt's been making a scene ever since he showed up. Like, everybody knows this is Skylar's husband. What's he doing here? Why is he so agitated? So a crowd is assembling, and Skylar is up on the mezzanine, like on the stairs, shouts down, "Walt, what are you doing?" And Walt, crouched over and dragging this thing across the tile, doesn't like let go of it, but just like looks up and says, "I'm talking with Ted."
Yeah, very, very intentional comedy beat.
I mean, it is 100% Hal. It is Hal. Yeah.
It's very funny. So Walt heaves the plant to the window, which bounces off, because that's a thing, also that happens. And then some guys down from some workmen from the plant come down and drag him out to the parking lot.
Yeah.
I love the look that he looks back at the door like, I'm gonna do you ain't seen the last of me, when Mike pulls up and throws him into the car.
Fucking black bags him. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
So Saul reads Walt the riot act, like, hey, you just this is rough, but you can't go getting arrested like this, and tries to reason, saying, I caught my second wife sleeping with my stepdad. It's a cruel world, Walt.
Yeah, it reminds me of the excellent Venture Brothers thing with my girlfriend left me for my stepdad, my dad,
my stanza. Yeah. God, Jimmy's post Kim life, just
all of it's very funny.
Yeah.
So Walt, is like, how do you know any of this happened? He's like, do you have me bugged? And Saul's like, you told me to, basically. You all but asked me to keep an eye on this, and Walt's freaking out about the principle of the matter.
Yeah,
Walt is principle to a fault.
It's the invasion of privacy.
Yeah. So Saul says, listen, he tries to brightside it. Like, on one hand, and she says the very gross line, she snuck off the reservation to get some dirty, damp, and deep, which is like the grossest thing you can say.
I would punch him for saying that, even if he wasn't talking about my wife.
He could be talking about a cake. Like, he could be talking about chocolate cake that uses Oreo crumble to look like dirt. And it's still gross. He could be describing a bog.
Yeah.
And I like, that's fucking nasty, dude.
Yeah. So he pulls Saul over the desk and they get into this little
this little ineffectual slap fight of them pushing each other's faces away. Which is something that is like signaling for a bad fight, if you're just kind of like trying to push somebody's face away from yours. It's really great. And I love, again, Mike, hilarious comic acting in this entire episode. It just waits a few beats and then gets up and just, bodily picks up Walt and takes him off of him like he's a bag of trash.
Yeah.
There.
And so Walt fires Saul, and Saul, all disheveled, his comb over, all put out of position, shouts, "Hey, your website's turned off."
Yeah, this is it for us. Fuck off,
Yeah.
Walt says, you're fired. Walt says, take all the bugs out of my house. I want them all out immediately. And then Saul saying, you just bought yourself a $300 suit, psycho. Very funny. I actually like this episode, which is very, like, I like this episode, and it is funny. I think that the balance on this is slightly skewed more towards humor than I kind of want, which I think makes it a little bit uneasy with how crappy Jesse and Hank are.
Yeah.
And this, like, when Walt is doing this, I kind of expect it, and it can be kind of funny. There's nothing funny about Hank or Jesse's scenes, but this episode itself has like a light tone. So
it kind of seems like I do not believe they are trying to make what Hank or Jesse do seem funny. No, not at all. But also it's a weird gear shift context. Like it ends up feeling a little bit jarring to me. It's also one of those things, I don't remember how I felt when I watched this originally. I mean, I loved it because I pretty much loved everything. Yeah. But like most people, when they experience, they're not going to be focusing just on this episode. They're going to be experiencing it in the run of season 3, which is, especially, compared to season 2 and especially compared to season 1, extremely tense. So like this, that tone could be welcome. Like they're not going to be zeroing in on this with walls at the beginning and end, right? Yeah. It just ends up falling. Evaluating it this close, it's. I probably should have mentioned, or I feel like I would have mentioned this earlier. It's not my favorite, episode of the season so far. There are great bits in it. Yeah. So we cut over to Mike getting rid of the bugs. Drilling. I love Walt just being like, drill right into the stucco. You patch it out.
Like Walt has no, or Mike, Mike has no patience.
Yeah, just get some putty, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And Walt says, you better make sure to get them all. And Mike says, A, these things cost $800 a piece, and B, you're not that interesting.
Very, very good. And Walt is trying to, again, principle to a fault. He's trying to score a moral victory here.
God, Walt,
he wants a catharsis from this.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. The thing he wanted to have happen, but he's still mad because he's not mad at Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's sublimating anger. It's taking out anger on other people.
Yeah. And I mean, this whole episode is him shopping people to take it out on. Right?
Yeah.
Until he ultimately
can I hurt because I can't hurt the person I want to hurt.
Yeah. Until he ultimately finds Jesse, right? The one person who kind of has less power than him in all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he follows him out of the car. He's like, oh, great, upstanding field work. And Mike's like, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then Mike looks around and says, like, hey, sometimes it's nice to have someone looking around your back. He notices something we don't see yet. Watching your back. It pans down, and the cousin, what I think is very funny, the cousin's coming out at night with sidewalk chalk, drawing a tiny little scythe.
Just like in case we forget the house we broke into.
Yeah, I don't really I get it. It's kind of chilling. Is the effect, as long as you don't think about how it happened at all.
Yeah.
Like this guy in this immaculate suit who doesn't talk, crouching down to draw a little tiny cartoon scythe. It's so stupid. Yep. The more you think about it, the worse it gets. Like, it's very chilling and cool at first, because it's like, how else do you remind the audience that there are guys who want to kill him, without having them show up in the episode?
Mm-hmm. I gotta tell you, didn't need the scythe. That line could have stood, because Mike is exactly where he was when he stopped the cousins from killing him. Yeah.
Have Mike notice somebody watching him. Like, not necessarily the cousins, but another cartel member. Like, down the street, there's a car. We just see a shadowy figure. It's just pointed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a cartoon scythe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does not have to be the beginnings of a game of kill scotch.
Yes. Very funny. Yeah. So the Walt sits down in a daze in front of his class. We're just staring at him. He's not doing anything, and they're not doing anything.
Yep. Do you notice the extra who appears to be 35 years old in the front row?
I don't. I watched this when we were going to originally record it.
Yeah,
we moved some schedule stuff around, so I don't remember this guy.
There's a markedly older looking, and sometimes you get a high schooler like that. Just got all the hormones, but
you also every once in a while you have a day of high school like this. I remember a couple 1,000-yard stares from teachers, because it's a horrible repetitive job.
Oh yeah.
Like, something that you have to remember with teachers is that you're not their only class that day. So they just go through the same thing 6 times a day, every single day. Like, it seems miserable to me.
Yeah.
So Carmen, the principal, takes Walt up to her office to talk about his performance, and Walt is not listening.
Nope.
He's an absolute space case at this point.
Yeah. And just like, hey, we need to make sure we're providing the best education for the kids. And he just gets up and walks over to a photo of her with her dog. You're like, oh, what breed is that? Palomino, such wonderful fur. No.
Yeah. They didn't want to play the hotel art card again this soon. Yeah. Carmen asked Walt to come back, and as she's talking, Walt touches her hair and then moves in for a kiss.
Yeah.
This is him. Walt has a history of sublimating romance, his feelings, his wires get crossed. He gets horny at bad times.
Yeah.
Not excusing it. I'm not saying this sucks.
No, this does not come out of nowhere, especially with them basically hinting at there maybe being something,
some kind
earlier.
Of chemistry.
Yeah.
Well, and the nature of his anger at Skylar.
Yeah.
Right. You can see him acting on instinct and being like, this'll show her.
Yeah. Good for the goose. Good for the gander.
UFT, IFC.
Mm-hmm. No, it's on AMC.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a show on IFC and I couldn't.
Whitest kids, Yeah, that's the only one I know.
It's 70 years old.
I know. I haven't watched IFC in a while, dude.
The only one I could think of was Portlandia, but I didn't want to talk about Portlandia.
Yeah,
a documentary now would have been where I would have made that joke, I guess.
Yeah.
I just couldn't think of an IFC show. But she reels off in disgust. She doesn't want any part of this.
Yeah.
There's a performance review, ding dong.
Yeah. God, the way that she recoils, immediately. Oh, man.
And then quietly disappears from the series, basically.
Well, just the school disappears.
Yeah. She's fulfilled her arc.
Yeah.
So Marie is dropping off Hank at the airport. She's very upset. She's doing it reluctantly.
Yes.
You know, and he still has, you know, he's beat up in the bar
Mhm.
fight. You know, so he still looks like he's been beat up.
Yeah. You know, and he tells her, like, hey, if you want me to go to Washington, like, this is how you get there. You have to put in time at the big leagues, right?
Yep.
You know, and she's worried for him. And Hank is like gets out and he's like breathing heavily, like he's trying to
anxious.
steal. Yeah, he's trying to steel himself to go in. This is the last place he wants to be. And as he takes the steps, he gets a call from the county sheriff. The blue meth has showed up again. It's been gone for a long time.
Yep. I love that they have like the Hank line if they find this stuff. So he calls a taxi. He backs out of El Paso.
Yeah.
Walt is carrying a banker's box of all his stuff, going on his indefinite leave. And Jesse honks for him. You know, Walt shows up and he's just like, oh, I'm just on sabbatical. You know, it's not leave, you know. And I like this initially where Walt is kind of like happy to see Jesse.
Yeah.
And is kind of polite to him.
Yeah.
You know, he hasn't seen him for a while. And this is, if Walt wasn't such an awful person, like Walt could use a friend right now.
He really could. Yeah.
But Walt isn't capable of relying on other people for emotional support.
No.
That if he was, we wouldn't be in this mess. Right? Like people offered him emotional and other kinds of support. Walt's tragic flaw of like pride and then also needing to be 100% self-sufficient is on full display here. Yeah. And you can see like just a little bit of warmness, like, hey, you know, how are you doing? You know, like I feel like that's genuine. You know, until, you know, eventually Jesse says like, hey, I want to meet with your guy.
Yeah.
You know, and Walt begins thinking he's just is begging him to cook meth again.
Everybody's doing this, you know.
Yeah, everyone's trying to get me to cook.
Saul was about to do that earlier when he said the dirty, damp, and deep thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, and Jesse says something tragic that's going to be echoed later on. You know, he's like, no, just man, just I, like this cooking is all I'm good at. Like I just want to get back to it.
Yep. And Walt goes into teacher mode for a second. You know, you're good at a lot of things, son. And then he like what? And he goes, well, what about your sobriety? You know, he can't answer a thing that he's good at.
Moving on.
Yeah, he shows the demo of Rage while using a light gun. We all let him think he's playing Rage well, but he's not.
Yeah.
So you know, Walt says, "I'm gonna go back in the business," and Jesse says, "Like, no, it's okay. Check it out." And this is so heartbreaking because Jesse's proud.
Yeah, he wants approval from
like
Dad. He did this difficult thing that he wasn't capable of doing, and that he wasn't capable of doing before. And he just like, hey, I learned it from you. Like, what do you think? Yeah, and this is this is the start of the schism.
The interesting thing about this, like the part of the reason why I think this hits Walt so hard is because this is the only thing Walt's good at.
Oh yeah, and it's
Jesse's like, you know, it's the only thing I'm good at is cooking. Walt would not feel so protective of this being duplicated or taken away if he felt like he had any power or ability in any other part of his life right now.
And it's not dissimilar from cheating, right? Yes. It is going around somebody to get something that you used to provide, or that person used to provide, right? This is another kind of infidelity. It is Walt being sidelined, and he does not want that to happen. Like, oh, you think you can be like me? You think you can be as good as me? You think you can go without me? Yeah, you know, I don't have to do this, and he becomes, you know, an absolute asshole. Like, you know, he overreacts to it. He starts pointing out flaws and stuff. We don't know how good this meth is. Yeah. We don't know how true this is. He's motivated to be false about it. We later learn that Jesse can cook well. Yeah. You know, can get there. We don't know what this is, but he's just being at like a heart, you know, this is shoddy work. I'm embarrassed for you. This is my recipe. You know? Jesse says, you know, I gave out samples and everyone said it was the bomb. And that is, you know, come on. Yeah. To Walt's credit, that is not good evidence. You know, and that's what meth heads will say anything. And then Walt says it doesn't matter because the guy I work with is a pro who doesn't work with junkies. You know, absolutely low blow. Like Jesse's worked really hard to become sober. And, you know, some of his best friends were a junkie before things happened. Yeah. You know? Yeah, just trying to impugn the character. Once a junkie, always a junkie kind of thing. Yeah. Like, well, you know what? Eat me. Anytime, loser. Yeah, it's real. And then Jesse speeds away with his box still on top of the roof. So it all falls off. Everything's going bad for Walt. Yeah. So Skylar's at work making copies, and
Skylarino.
and she tries making small talk with another employee coming in to get copy paper, but she's not getting anything
They're
back.
icing her.
Yeah, everybody knows what's going on.
The boss, yeah. It's no good. We fade to a picture of Ted's family and the sound of them having sex.
Mm-hmm.
And Skylar gets up. This is purely, getting some kind of fulfillment, right? Like Skylar doesn't love Ted, right. But Ted is starting to get feelings. He's catching feelings.
Yeah.
She says, I wish you could stay. And Ted says, why don't you? Seriously, like you could, maybe move in.
Yeah.
And then she says, that's not going to work, a little bit coldly. And then he eventually says, hey, you never told me what went wrong with Skylar and Walt. I always saw him as kind of mild mannered. She dodges the question, and he says, I'm asking out of self-interest. I want to make sure I don't make the same mistake. Like he sees a future here.
Yeah.
Which is also tragic. Like Ted's story in this whole thing is very tragic.
Yeah. No. And just, I don't want to make the same mistake. Just, I would be amazed.
Yeah. Very funny. And then at that point, it's something with Skylar. Like I'm not on team, but if you just have two meth kingpins who are secret, like you're the common denominator there.
Yeah,
that is a phenomenal amount of bad luck.
That is that calls for some introspection.
Power. Like that is proof of X-Men that have happened. Like you're out there, X-Man.
Get some anomaly theory on this one.
Yes, because that is wild shit. My least favorite scene in the episode and maybe the season, maybe the show, happens here, where Hank is interrogating a goddamn cartoon character.
Yeah, it's
every once in a while they pull in a guy who just I think is a bad fucking actor. He's like on loan from like the like an improv troupe. You know, like we're part of the Wet Nuts, and we're here to to entertain you.
I need an addiction, meth. I need a city, Albuquerque.
Yeah, I need a name. Starts with M. So it's this guy, and he's trying to ask where they got his blue meth from.
Right.
Here. It's like, I'm 80% sure he had a mustache. Like, it's such a fucking, like, I'm glad you have this in the notes that he's a cartoon. I hate this. This made me mad.
Yeah. And like, he's putting his fingertips to his forehead like he's fucking Charles Xavier.
Yeah. He's also an X-Man. He's like, oh, it's very like, you know what he looks like? He looks like they got motorcycles. Yeah. He looks like that guy.
He does.
He's a Tim Robinson character in the middle of this serious show.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah. It's like,
all they get is tan pants and an M name.
Yeah. Just a ma. It's a ma. It's nothing. And it drags on for fucking ever.
The scene basically takes the entire episode.
Yeah.
As they get out, Hank's like, let's do it, Gomi. M names. It's like, and Gomi's like, man, like this is ludicrous, dude.
Yeah, and so he kind of calls him out, like, "Hey, I think you're reaching. You're reaching to blow off the task force." And Hank is like, "Hey, I'm getting tired of this second guessing. If you're not properly stimulated, you can go ahead and ask for a transfer," which he's going to do. He does.
Yeah, really, really cold. Really mean to, again, his only friend. Like, again, we parallels within parallels, right? Like, Hank and Walt are not so different in that they are both people who cannot depend on other people,
right? And
who are lashing out at the people closest to them. I mean, continuously.
Not to be a caricature, but victims of masculinity. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Like, it's a central thesis of the show. Gomi puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "Listen, you should talk to somebody. I'm worried. Bro." Like, and he goes, "I appreciate that, bro. Take your hand off my shoulder.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna fucking deck you.
Yeah. Take your hand off my shoulder, or I'll take your hand off."
Yeah. Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
So Saul's on the phone. He's trying to get he's cold calling on the Wayfarer case.
It's very funny to me. Yeah.
And Jesse shows up, and Saul wants to turn him away. Like, "Hey, just I don't want anything to do with you or you or your grandpa anymore." And then Jesse opens up a big old bag of mess.
Yeah.
Like, hello there.
And I love that. Like, also Saul doesn't know about good math. Right. It just is blue, so it's good. So like, so Mike meets with Gus at a parking garage here. This is the first time in the series. I felt like this was already established, but it wasn't, that Mike works for Gus.
Yes.
Not for Saul. Established here. He's, Gus is telling about Walt. He's like, medical records say he's doing fine physically. Mentally, the guy's a fucking disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, Walt's not going to come back on his own, and the cousins, they were at his place again, saw this scythe. I thought it was pretty on the nose. It was kind of a lot, actually.
Yeah. It was a little bit weird. The cartel's getting sloppy.
Yeah.
And Gus says, I don't believe fear is going to be an effective motivator. Like Mike says, basically, like, we can protect him, like, let him know. And he's like, it doesn't want that. He wants investment. He wants him to come of his own free will.
Yeah.
Mike says, oh, there's one more thing. The lawyer says that Jesse wants to cook. Gus is like, no, he's a junkie. And he lets loose that they're quarreling.
Yeah. Jesse and Walter split up, and this 180 really do the deal.
Yep. Gus gets it. Gus is a social manipulator. Then we get the Hank being an asshole scene.
Yeah.
Hank is out driving. His phone beeps. It's from ASAC and about El Paso, and he doesn't answer the voicemail. He shuts it off midway. Yeah. So he looks at his notebook full of M names, gets out of the car, and he's at the gas station.
Yeah. He's on the trail. Right.
Yep.
And he goes in and talks to this clerk. This actress is so good.
She's really good.
Yeah.
Really, really believable. This is the last M name that he had. Going through all the M's in the book. And he used to work here. She was fired a while ago. She hasn't seen him. And he's a bloodhound. Like, he's got the scent. So he pulls out the baggie and she freezes up.
Yeah. Immediate sign. She knows something. Right. Yeah. Freezes up and denies. And he's like, you're a bad liar. Not the worst I've ever seen. I once had a guy try to say the dope balloon up his butt came from bad Thai food, which is a funny line.
It's a funny line, but I think it's really important that Hank doesn't say it jocularly.
No.
Hank is still doing Hank rhythms, but he is furious.
Yeah. It's this girl, like, it's the last name, and she is here standing in his way, and you do not want to be in Hank's way.
End of the line, right?
Yeah.
She's like, you're a good kid. She starts breaking. At one point, he like slams his hand on the thing. He's like yelling at her. And she eventually breaks down, and she describes Jesse. Really, really blue eyes. She's giving him useful information, but he wants a plate. Like, he needs to go kill this person, or he's not going to feel okay. Yeah. It's like, oh, she's dreamy. And this bit where he's like, he drove an RV, and he goes, what kind? She's like, I don't know RVs. It was white and brown. Every time she answers a question, she's afraid.
Oh yeah.
The answer is not going to be good enough, and he's going to do something. And he's not like scared. Like, she is scared he's going to get in trouble, or she's going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
She's also scared he's going to like hurt her. Yeah. He's being violent, with this stuff.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I'm begging you to tell me that camera works. And she just starts crying. Like, she's like, I'm going to get fucking hit.
Yeah.
From this stuff.
And like, her dad owns this place. We learned that with Jesse earlier.
Yeah.
She even says, like, my dad's a real hard ass, just like Jane, just like Donald was, right? But it's like, hey, please don't tell my dad. Like, it's the ultimate thing. Like, she is barely holding it together. And we know when he asks, like, tell me that security camera works.
Yep.
Nope.
Because they never do. Basically.
No, yeah, it's security theater. Yeah.
So he comes out and he notices the ATM has a camera. Bingo. We cut over to Walt in a catatonic state, picking up and dropping Cheerios.
Yep, he's eating cereal where Junior and Skylar have a full eggs and bacon breakfast.
Yep, he got a plate. Junior says, "Oh man, the money stopped coming through the website." And Walt says, "Well, people lose interest."
Yeah, maybe they're donating to some guy named Ted's website now.
Yeah. Walt, Junior says, "How long will you be off work?" And Walt's like, "Oh, not sure." And then Junior says, "Hey, since you're not working, you could probably babysit Holly. You don't have to take the baby in anymore." And Skylar says, "Sometime, maybe." Just brutal.
Just nothing. No access to your own daughter. Yeah. So Jesse waits for the deal, right? He's going to make the handoff, and he's waiting for Victor at this underpass. And Victor just pulls up, doesn't say anything, and they make the exchange. And when Jesse goes to open the bag, he notices that it's light. There's half of these stacks that should be there.
Yes. Victor pulls around because he knew this is all part of the plan. Jesse says, "Hey, it's only half." And Victor goes, "That's right. It's your half." Kind of explaining the situation here, Gus's plan. We get to Hank. Hank sits down for his final, like he's been avoiding his boss this whole time. He can't keep doing it. I'll talk to my cell phone provider. And ASAC just asks him point blank, "Are you going to El Paso?"
Right. And Hank instead says, well, how about this blue meth case? I've got this file of the ATM camera stills. This RV is riding really high in its shocks. This should have 5,000 something pounds of furniture and stuff inside of it, but this one's light. Where did it all go?
Yeah. Yep. And ASAC dodges this. Are you refusing the assignment?
Yeah.
You have to give me an answer. And Hank can barely say, like, I can't go.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's only because I'm really close to something big here. And ASAC doesn't like this.
No.
But he has to accept it. He sighs. He goes, better get to it then. Gotta do it. I like this actor a lot.
He's good.
I was in a bar. My band played a show and they showed The Rock on in the bar on the TV.
The Rock, the Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage movie. Yeah.
They had a couple extras from the show that I didn't recognize. One of the cops in that is one of the Nazis from later.
Oh, huh.
And I think I saw this guy.
Okay.
A younger version of this guy. I'm not totally sure though.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool.
Yeah. You know what movie's good? The Rock. That's a fun movie. Yeah.
It's a real fun movie.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize this. Somebody in the Slack pointed this out. VG Robot pointed it out. In one of my all-time favorite films, Gremlins 2, the guy who makes the delivery to the genetic testing lab and whistles the song, letting Phoebe Cates know that the gremlin is there, the Mogwai's there, that's Tuco.
Yep.
Just a rail thin Tuco. Young and incredibly tan and rail thin Tuco. So anyway, so we get to the very last scene of the thing. Walt's driving down the highway and hears a radio bulletin about Donald Margolis shooting himself, but he's in the hospital. Possibly survived. Changes the station. He stops at a red light. Victor pulls up next to him, throws a bag of money at him, and just says, "You're half."
Yeah. And then speeds away.
Yep.
And Walt just looks at it and the light turns green. Hey, that's the name of the episode.
We all cheer.
Yeah. And then someone behind him honks the horn and he has to pull through. Symbolism.
Yes. Yep. And then the next episode, more being, he's going to start cooking.
Oh, yeah.
This appealing to his pride has worked for Gus.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a mixed episode, mildly. I think I do like it. It's good. It's just like a little bit. Some of the comedy, really, just that meth interrogation scene.
Yeah,
I don't know how that got past casting directing.
Yeah, same.
It really bothered me. So
a real sour note, right?
Look at how they've done meth heads before. Like Spooge is also incoherent.
Yes,
but he's not. He doesn't seem like a silly, like fun dude on a trading card, like a surfer on a trading card.
They literally might as well have like animated him in and do like Mr. Lippet kind of thing,
like Grum, like just have a tennis ball, just have a tennis ball on a stick, and then every other scene it's Grum, just like it began with an M, the name, tan pants he had.
I don't blame you, Father. I'm having fun in heaven.
I just it's a bad note in an episode that is mixed, but we're gonna hit the gas here pretty soon.
I like that they're heightening the like those parallels, just the parallel spirals of Walt and Hank as they're both kind of denied their purpose a little bit here.
Yes,
in kind of different ways. It's not subtle, but that sublimation, and then just like it starts out with you having zero sympathy for Jesse, just performing just a really monstrous act, trying to, get this woman hooked on his drugs, and you think, okay, well, he has obviously turned forever, but then when he's denied the approval from Walt, that scene in the car is fucking brutal.
Yeah, it yanks you in multiple directions.
Yeah, really good emotional notes, weighed down by one very bad scene and one very bad casting.
Yeah,
I feel bad because maybe that person was cast by the director who died,
who passed away, or maybe they're cast right after that person passed away.
Oh, yeah,
somebody new getting
they were all
the gig.
all that was holding the thing. Oh,
yeah, there's just this huge line of horrible actors just outside the Breaking Bad thing waiting to get jobs. And she was the one person holding the back.
Just rubbing their hands together, just
also,
over animatedly. Yeah.
Like, who knows how much that's direction, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's possible the director was like, no, play it a little bigger.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to know who to place the blame on, but it's a frustrating scene in an episode that I think is a little tonally mismatched, but still good.
Yep. And I just watched the next episode before we recorded here, and it's real fucking good too. So
nice.
Yeah.
If you like this show, you should support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah, you get a bunch of bonus content. You know, most of our other shows are about video games. And if you have been playing or enjoying the hit PC game Baldur's Gate 3, then you'll be excited to know we have a new premium show called Real Lich Hours, which is a weekly dive through that game. And that's going to be, who knows when the strike is ending, but look for more information on our Patreon, patreon.com/DuckFeedTV.
Yeah. You can also leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcast or Podcast Addict. You can tell your friends. People are doing rewatches. And big thanks to Gwen, our producer and theme song composer.
Yeah. I really like that we have one person that we've been going to for music, and that she is as talented as she is.
Me too.
It's great to kind of have that through line. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. So until next time, be nicer than all these people.
Please.
Don't try to kiss your boss.
Yeah.
Unbidden.
And if you have an M name, I have a free boat for you. Come down to the police station.
Mel. It was Mel.
Grow up.
Dick.